Welcome to Design with Impact, the podcast for interior designers who want to create beautiful, healthy spaces with intention and purpose. I'm Alex, interior designer, mom, entrepreneur, and educator, and I am truly passionate about sustainability. After seeing the amount of waste our industry creates and learning how everyday materials can impact our health, I completely changed the way I approach design. And now I want to help more designers do the same. Each week, through solo episodes and conversations with industry experts, we'll explore sustainable materials, healthier homes, and circular design, along with practical strategies to reduce waste, grow a sustainable business, and market your work with intention, so you can create real impact without sacrificing aesthetics or profitability. Because sustainability isn't optional, it's the future of design. Welcome back to another episode of Design with Impact. I'm your host, Alex Shield. If you have ever felt called to incorporate sustainability into your design business but wondered where to start or worried that it would make your business harder to run, this episode is for you. In this episode, we will cover my journey into sustainable design, the challenges along the way, and advice for designers who want to do the same. I did not grow up with big dreams of becoming a sustainable interior designer. I actually didn't know a lot about sustainability until I was older. I grew up in a household where we didn't waste anything. My mom made all of our meals from scratch, and if there were leftovers, the next day she would transform them into a different meal. She would pick up furniture on the side of the road and refinish or reupholster it. She would sew our clothes if there was a hole in them and repair things when they were broken. She didn't live this way to be eco-friendly or because she was conscious of her environmental impact, although she was. She did this to save money and also because this is just who she was. My grandmother was a master thrifter. She would take me to garage sales when I was young, and we would sift through other people's trash to find treasures. Then we would bargain to get the best deal, and this was so much fun for me as a kid. And my grandmother did it because she loved the thrill of the find, and I came to love it too. Fast forward to my early 20s, where at this point in my life, we had moved countless times, and I had flipped a few homes with my mom, and I loved every aspect of designing a home. So I went back to school to study interior design. I was working a corporate 9-to-5 job at this point, but when I finished my program, I started taking on small jobs here and there, working for family and friends just to gain experience. What I really wanted was to learn from seasoned designers. So I reached out to some friends of mine who ran their own design studio. I offered to help them on a project for free, and they brought me on for a project installation they were doing at an office space. We had to unpack all of the artwork, the lighting, and accessories and set everything up. And I couldn't believe the amount of waste we generated for this small project. So I started thinking about how much waste must be generated in this industry and how we could do better. A few years later, I watched the documentary The True Cost, which explores the social and environmental impact of the fashion industry. And it totally changed my life. I had never thought about the people who were making the products we were consuming, how they were made, what they were made of, and what would happen to them at the end of their life. I thought that when I donated the clothes that I wasn't wearing anymore, that they would go to somebody who wanted them, somebody who needed them. But no, they were likely shipped overseas to be dumped in a landfill or burned. They didn't just disappear. They became someone else's problem. This is where my whole life shifted. I became overly conscious of what I was consuming, and I started asking questions. Who made it? How is it made? What is it made of? And what's going to happen at the end of its life? I also started my journey to zero waste and bought secondhand whenever I could. And I started incorporating these same values into my designs. At this time, there weren't any design schools that I knew of that offered a course specifically about sustainable interior design, so I took other courses. I studied environmental design and sustainable fashion design. I read books about circularity in design. I wanted to know it all. Let's fast forward a few more years. I started working for a design firm, and I was so thrilled to be able to do this full-time and learn from incredibly talented designers. But I quickly realized it would be hard for me to fit in and to be 100% excited about the designs we were creating because of everything I had learned. The designers would bring in new wallpaper samples, and everyone would ooh and ah, and I would be there checking to see what they were made of. Hint, it was PVC. And I would pretend that they were great, but inside I couldn't understand why anybody would want to put this in their home. Unfortunately, I was the only one who knew anything about sustainability, and so every time I brought it up, someone would change the subject. I realized very quickly that a traditional design setting wasn't for me. And then when I was pregnant with my son, I was designing his nursery. And this is when I was really learning about the toxic chemicals in the materials and the textiles that we bring into our home and their associated health issues. It became so overwhelming to find products that were healthy and checked all the boxes for me. So at this point, I'm sitting on the floor in my son's empty nursery, feeling frustrated and overwhelmed, thinking that I couldn't be the only mom who wanted a healthy home for her kids. This was the push I needed to finally start my own business, which had been a dream of mine for over a decade. And now I'm sharing my knowledge and everything I've learned so far to help other designers incorporate sustainability into their design practice so we can make an even bigger impact. I didn't get here without any challenges. The first challenge I had was finding clients who were aligned with what I was offering. When I first launched my business, I wondered if there was even a market for sustainable design. I was receiving referrals here and there from family and friends, but some potential clients would tell me about their project and then they would say, "But it doesn't have to be sustainable." Yes, it does. For me, it totally does because I cannot unknow what I know. But I wanted the work and I wanted the experience. So for those clients, I prioritized what they needed and I just incorporated sustainable elements. So for example, I used WaterSense certified plumbing fixtures to save water. I sourced tile with recycled content and found creative ways to use what they already had. And then every once in a while, someone would pop up who wanted sustainable design and who wanted to know all of the details of why the items were healthier, why they were better for the planet. And these were absolutely my best clients. These were the projects that really lit me up. The key to finding clients who align with your values is being unapologetically clear about what you stand for and who you serve. I've heard designers say that talking too much about sustainability or wellness or healthy materials might limit their audience. But in reality, the opposite happens. Specificity attracts the right people and filters out the wrong ones. Another challenge in building my sustainable design business has been finding partners and suppliers who truly share my values. I have spent hundreds of hours researching materials, finishes, and manufacturers that meet my standards for health, sustainability, and quality. And what's even more difficult has been finding builders and contractors who understand and embrace this approach. I have worked with so many contractors who have rolled their eyes at me when I suggested a material or a finish that was more eco-conscious. A curtain maker recently told me that they couldn't make curtains out of my, in quotes, eco fabric. It was 100% organic cotton, by the way. So I had to call around and find someone who would. It would have been easier to just use their polyester fabric, but I know better and I want what's best for my clients. When you're looking for builders and contractors to support you in your projects, be upfront about your priorities. So talk about how you want to use low tox materials. You want to reduce waste in your projects. You want to prioritize indoor air quality, build for durability, longevity, etc. You may not find a contractor who already knows everything or anything at all about sustainable building, but that's okay. Some of the best partnerships come from people who are open-minded, respect your expertise, and are willing to try new things. Another major challenge for me has been navigating greenwashing. Sustainability has become more mainstream in the past few years, and it seems like every product is suddenly being marketed as eco-friendly or natural or green, but those claims often lack real substance. I have spent so much time digging deeper, reading labels, reviewing certifications, asking manufacturers tough questions, and learning what truly makes a product healthier and more sustainable. It can be overwhelming and frustrating because making responsible choices requires a lot more research than simply taking marketing claims at their face value. But that process has also reinforced the importance of education and due diligence, and it's become a core part of how I serve my clients and make more informed decisions. As I leaned further into sustainable design, my business naturally began to evolve. I started by getting really clear on my values and asking myself what kind of impact I wanted my work to have, not just on my clients, but on the environment and on the industry as a whole. Being clear on this changed everything. My design process became more intentional, with a greater focus on health, longevity, and thoughtful material selection. I have spent a lot of time researching products, building relationships with suppliers who share my values, and creating a trusted network of partners. My conversations with my clients also changed. Instead of simply talking about aesthetics and function, I began educating them about indoor air quality, healthier materials, and the long-term benefits of sustainable choices. Even my marketing shifted. I stopped trying to appeal to everyone and started speaking directly to the clients who care about wellness, sustainability, and creating meaningful spaces. So what does sustainable design mean to me today? I used to think it meant perfection, and I stressed about every little detail. But I understand now that it's not about perfection. It's about making intentional decisions. It's about health, longevity, and reducing harm. It's about creating a positive impact, one project at a time. My advice for designers who want to make the shift to sustainable design is start where you are. Don't wait until you know everything. Focus on progress, not perfection. Be curious and keep learning. Find your community. Lead with your values. And trust that the right clients will find you. I didn't build a sustainable design business overnight. It evolved one decision, one project, and one conversation at a time. And if you're feeling called to do this work too, I want you to know that I support you and I'm here for you every step of the way. Come send me a DM over on Instagram at designwithimpact_. I would love to hear from you. And if you want to get in on the conversation, come join our community over on School. We meet monthly to network and discuss different topics, and I would love for you to join us. And don't forget to join our mailing list where I send a monthly newsletter with resources and conversations around healthy and sustainable design. You can find the link to join the community and subscribe to the mailing list in the show notes. As always, thank you for being here. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love for you to follow the podcast, share this episode with another designer so we can make an even bigger impact, and leave a review so more designers can find this podcast and we can continue to grow this community. Also, I challenge you to take one sustainable practice from this episode and incorporate it in your business or your next project. And I want to know what it is. Send me a DM over on Instagram at designwithimpact_. I would love to hear from you. Thank you for being here.